Hey everybody, welcome to another software testing happy hour by Checkpoint Technologies. I have got my partner in crime here, Matt Kubal.
Hello.
And we've got Brian Farwick here with us, the
Good afternoon.
validation manager. Do I have your
Testing
title right?
validation.
Testing validation
Yes.
manager at Henny Penny.
Correct.
And Brian and I have had the pleasure of knowing Brian for a good 12 years. We first met at an STP conference in New Orleans,
Nolans, yeah.
where I've been the past few days, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
yeah.
So, all right. So Brian, we would love to hear, before we dive into some of the IT and software testing questions, tell us a bit about Henny Penny and what it is that Henny Penny does for the world.
Okay, all right. So Henny Penny is a commercial fryer and hot foods company. So they make commercial cooking applications for Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, McDonald's, etc. So small company based in Eaton, Ohio, 1,000 employees. Been in business 65 years, but it's really a great employee-owned company.
Outstanding, outstanding. So, you know, I know you and I have, and Matt have spoken a little bit just about your role, but what are you finding are some of the bigger challenges you have as the testing validation manager?
So this is a new role to Henny Penny. It's bringing about formal testing for software, hardware. So we have mechanical testing, electrical testing, software testing. So it's taking it to the next step of getting the requirements, documenting the requirements, actually writing down how the software is supposed to interact with the hardware, and actually performing those tests with an independent body.
Okay.
And how do you do that with a device that's external? It's not a computer, right?
It's not
This is
a
a fryer
computer.
sitting there.
It's a fryer. So we do embedded C. We build the application. We deploy it to a USB stick. You know, put the USB stick on the fryer and load it right up there. So most of our testing to date has been manual, and that's the way it's always been done, right? So we got to cook
Yeah.
thousands of pounds of nuggets, thousands of pounds of fries, and that's pretty much how they've been doing it.
Interesting.
Wow, wow. So, you know, from a challenges point of view, I mean, that's what you've got to do there. I can see it's very interactive. I mean, you've got to interact with that fryer, that device, and everything else. So from analyzing the results and looking at your actual results and comparing them to the expected, I mean, do you have any challenges there? Do you have much variance when it comes to those?
Yes. So we actually have a food scientist on staff who then
Food scientist?
Food scientist, yes. So he comes in and he measures the food quality of the nugget for the moisture, the color, the feel. So McDonald's and these other customers have specific requirements about what the appearance should look like, what the temperature should look like, and so we have to basically prove that our equipment can meet those standards, right?
Okay.
So we actually have an approval process to go in with these customers and make sure that our fryer can cook to their standards.
Wow.
So we actually have a food scientist on staff there, and we look at temperature curves, and we look at all that data from the fryer to make sure it matches the before and after. And we have a huge test kitchen that, you know, customers will come into our test kitchen and work with our chefs and work with the food scientists to get their food just right.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's an
Amazing.
industry I never even knew existed.
Yeah.
It's astounding. And how much of it is going to sort of automation, like removing the person from being in front of the fryer?
That is a challenge that we're struggling with because of embedded C.
Yeah.
Most companies here at the conference have all been preaching, you know, codeless automation, mobile web,
Yeah.
API.
Right.
I mean, no one has come to us and said, well, we can solve the embedded C
Yeah.
testing, right?
Yeah. You're air gapped. How do you solve that? Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've got some ideas which we'll share with you offline.
Okay.
Over a cold beer, which a lot of you may notice we don't have our beers
Yeah,
with us.
very thirsty.
Oh, that is because, before I forget, I should have mentioned this earlier, we are all at Star East 2023 at the Rosen Center in beautiful Orlando, Florida. And Brian's here attending, we're sponsoring. And so we decided to hook up. But back to the conversation about
back to the fryers.
the fryer.
Well, I mean, we're all worried about people being automated out of their job. I have to assume there's a big push for that from your side. Like, make sure that nobody's having to try to find staff to run the fryer or run the cooking machine. You know, eliminate that. So yeah, I can imagine testing being a huge part of that.
So
you
I
can't
was
just
actually
throw it
I
in
was
there.
actually at a food conference here a couple months ago, and there's actually robotic fryers now. So
Yeah.
there's actually companies that move a fryer basket, fill it with fries, put it down the chain, drop it in the thing. All that.
I feel like you spend just as much time then maintaining that as you
Yes,
would.
yes, maintenance nightmare. And if the system goes down,
Yeah. Nobody knows how to fix it.
no one knows
Nobody
how to
gets
fix
fries
it,
that day.
and everyone is upset.
Yeah.
So, no,
So
but from
testing very important then.
testing is very important, and I would say our biggest challenge is going to be trying to test the application prior to actually cooking that food, because no one wants to go through and waste all that food and all that time doing the manual testing.
True.
Well, I'm still fascinated and a little bit stuck on that you have a food scientist, and I'm going to ask you a question about this in just a minute. But when I present and talk about IoT and the impact on testing, one of the things I talk about is testing in the wild, and that you're going to have different types of roles. And I mentioned the Fitbit if you want to test it, in running a 3-minute mile. If anybody in the world can do that, I don't think that's happened yet. But how would you do that? So now, my question is, how does the food scientist interact with your testing team?
So to date, we work hand in hand.
Okay.
So pretty much when we get a software release or a change to a board or change to a mechanical feature, a pump or something, we have to determine if it has an impact to food quality, right? If we determine that change has an impact to food quality, the food scientist has tests that he will run with us to make sure that the food quality was not impacted. So we have a before and an after. So we check the temperature curves and all the other history of the fryer during that cook cycle to make sure that nothing was impacted.
Okay. And so I would think that you would all not only be tracking defects per se, but I'll use the word again, variances, where this we're not saying anything's wrong with the fryer, but we need to configure something different.
Yes.
Change a different setting.
So we change set points is what they call them.
Okay.
And change the recipes, right? So just as you think the recipe is, it may, when you drop a load of fries in the fryer, it may cook for X amount of time under this temperature, right?
Okay.
And then we might work with the food scientist and determine you need to cook it for 10 seconds longer at that temperature and then drop the heat back. And then, so it's very specific to how much heat, how long, etc. Right?
Okay.
So it's basically a cooking curve where it's like you drop cold food in a fryer, your temperature will drop suddenly. You need to add the heat, and then how long to keep the burners on to add the heat without overcooking, right? Because as soon as you drop frozen food in a hot oil, the moisture just tries to leave as fast as it can, right? So you're dealing with moisture, you're dealing with pressure, you're dealing with hot oil, you're dealing with temperatures and burners, and it's just something that no one's ever really thought about. Probably.
Right. And but so on the whole thing where you mentioned dropping cold French fries into a hot fryer, and then the temperature goes down.
Yeah.
I assume the fryer then has something that's measuring the heat of the water, and it will adjust the timing accordingly.
Yep, the heat of the oil. Yep, we have temperature sensors, in the front, in the back. And to us, we call it load compensation, right? You have to try to figure out how full the basket is.
Okay.
You could have it overflowing with nuggets. You could have a half a load, right? You drop it in there, and by the temperature drop, we're trying to determine how much heat to turn on at that point. So it's a lot to it that people take for granted when they order their nuggets or their fries and don't even think about all the math and science behind this.
Wow.
There's a load of data that you're collecting as a result of that. Are you finding it difficult to configure like test management tools to track everything you're trying to track, or are you able to do that?
No,
very
so
easily?
we don't. Part of why I'm here at Star is to help pick a test case management tool, right?
Gotcha.
Because to date, we don't really have tests that are defined and standardized, right?
Okay.
So one of our other issues is, how did we test this 2 years ago, right?
Right.
So part of the new group, for lack of a better term, is to get these test cases
Yeah.
in a central spot
Okay.
for tracking, for history.
A lot of
all
Excel
that.
spreadsheets all over the place.
Excel
before-
spreadsheets, Word documents.
Yeah.
Right. So you're trying to get rid of that legacy stuff. and-
Emails out the wazoo, yeah.
No dashboard to look out.
No dashboard. But no, I mean, but the other struggle is Fryer logs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just now on the IoT jumping into that bandwagon.
Yeah.
But to date, we have to copy Fryer logs with a USB stick. And
Very
we-
manual.
Very manual, and export them and bring them up in Excel and all that. So our hope is when this first phase of IoT is we can send data to the cloud, and then we can use that for predictive maintenance.
Very interesting.
And are fryers the only type of device Henny Penny focuses
No,
on?
no. So we have warming cabinets,
Okay.
we have combi ovens, we have open and pressure fryers, and we mainly deal with the hot food space.
Okay.
So we've never dived into cold. We just stay in our niche because that's what we feel we do best.
Okay. Now, out of the devices that you and your team have tested, do they all find one to be the most challenging?
Pressure frying,
Okay.
because it's just like open frying, but then you have the pressure segment on top of it, another variable, right? How long do you apply pressure? How much pressure? So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, if you think of a pressure cooker, like that's how Chick-fil-A gets their chicken so moist.
Okay.
They pressure fry it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
you're frying it in oil, but also applying pressure. So you trap in that moisture in the chicken, and that's what makes it so tender.
That sounds more dangerous than pressure cooking. Like
It
an
is-
explosion of hot oil
Yes.
instead of
It's
hot.
pressure
like-
cooking with gas, flammable oil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, it's an area that I've never even knew existed
Fantastic.
in little old Eaton, Ohio.
Wow. Just absolutely
It's a super
amazing.
interesting process, though.
It is.
It
It
is,
is. We have a
yeah.
huge,
Love it.
huge test kitchen, with R&D, and I mean, obviously we have to do compliance testing and agency testing for UL and CE certification.
Wow.
So I mean, there's just good stuff people take for granted.
Well, I look forward to getting up there, and I hope I get to see the test kitchen.
We'll feed
man.
you some Chick-fil-A too.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah. Matt, do you have any last questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Brian. I
So-
really appreciate it.
Yeah, Brian, man, outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Everybody,
us.
this gentleman is Brian with an I, Farwick, Farwick. You're on LinkedIn.
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, yeah.
But this has been fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And everybody, remember we are at Star East 2023, having a great time. We're here with our partners Inflectra, Keysight, of which Eggplant is a division of, and Tricentis and Microfocus. So life is good. Everybody have a great time. Matt, thank you also. And again,
you.
Brian, thanks. Take
Yep.
care, everybody.
Thank you.